I love MMOs. I've played a lot of them. Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, WoW, several WoW knockoffs, and put tons of hours into them. But the MMO I love the most is RuneScape. No, not that one. The real one. There it is. For those of you who don't know, RuneScape is a medieval MMO originally made by three brothers in their mother's kitchen over 2 decades ago. The premise of the game was to do whatever you want: adventure, kill monsters, fish, cook said fish, kill other players, mine ore. You get the idea. Not only is the game still up and running, it's still updated to this day. I started my adventure back in 2005. I was new into high school and some other kids introduced me to RuneScape. That's where the addiction began. Like everyone else at the time, I had no idea how to play this game efficiently, but I threw a lot of hours into it, eventually getting my quest cape back in 2007 and my first 99 in 2008. After high school, I would quit and come back to the game several times over the years. I played through some of the best updates, and some of the worst. When Old School released, I was hesitant to jump in for the first few years simply because I had progressed so far and didn't want to start over. But eventually I did, and I never looked back. I think RuneScape is the best MMO on the market today. It's massive and jam-packed with things to do around every corner, as long as you ignore like 90% of the spot over here. Anyways, it's such a unique game. You enter the world and kill a goblin and think, this is such a relaxing game. I just click on things. Then you watch a video of Wooks looking like an anime protagonist after a training arc and think, my god, this game is so complicated. It's for the sweatiest of nerds. And you know what? You're right both times. RuneScape is as casual or hardcore as you want it, with everything in between. You can be some random casual that just wants to cut down trees to burn them in Varrock Square in the shape of a smiley face, like a mysterious sociopath. Or you can fight 6 Jads with no prayer, like a complete masochist. Me? I like the 2-log group Iron Man because I have no friends, but don't want to miss out on a new game mode.
I'm just so lonely.
Whatever your itch to scratch, RuneScape's probably got something for you. Except gambling. We don't allow that anymore. Absolutely none of that. Anyways, like I said, I love this game, but at the same time, I kind of hate it as well. And I want to explore this paradoxical feeling through this video. Quick note before I get started, I'm not going to be talking about bots, gold farmers, or real-world trading. While I think these are real issues, I don't blame Jagex for them. I believe the anti-cheat team does an amazing job. They were simply given an impossible task, and I wish them the best of luck. There are so many aspects of this game, but what I strongly dislike can be broken into 3 parts. The first of which is dead content. I want to use melee equipment from bronze to rune as an example. I'll get to dragon a little bit later. Here's a table of the different tiers of metal and the skill level required to use them. In the first 10 levels, you go through 4 tiers of metal. Why? Those first 10 levels go so fast that there's basically no way you're going to utilize everything. And if you're a member, you've likely done the waterfall quest right off the bat to boost yourself up to level 30, effectively skipping all of those plus mithril, and going straight to adamant. That's 5 tiers of metal, nullified by a single quest that many people do in the first hour of an account. Let's move into armor specifically. Here's a list of the different pieces. Now at first glance you might think that using different types of armor would be better or worse depending on the situation, and you would be wrong. The full helm and kite shield are objectively better than the medium helm and square shield respectively. The plate legs and plate skirt have the same stats, so it's only cosmetic. And while technically the chain body has slightly higher crush defense than the plate body, it's generally accepted that the plate body is better overall. Now to get into weapons. They can be categorized by 3 things. First is attack speed ranging from 4 to 7 game ticks. Second is damage type being stab, slash, or crush. And finally, if it's one or two-handed. Let's compare some of these, starting with the sword and the dagger. Both are stab weapons and have an attack speed of 4 ticks. The sword does more damage, but the dagger can be poisoned. Cool, makes sense. Next, the sword and the scimitar. Both have the same attack speed, but the sword does stabbing damage while the scimitar does slashing. So one would assume they do the same amount of damage, just in a different type. Wrong. The scimitar is just better. How about the scimitar versus the battle axe? Both are slashing, but the battle axe is a slower weapon, so it should do more damage and hit through higher defense. Or something else to compensate, right? No. It technically does hit slightly harder, but overall, it'll do less damage. Scimitar versus claws, both are slashing and have the same speed, but the claws take both hands to use. Discarding your defensive capabilities to shred through your opponents with ease? Nope. Scimitar still does more damage. In fact, despite both these items having the same speed, damage type, and even the amount of materials to create, The scimitar is better in every way. It does more damage, it's more accurate, it has higher defensive bonuses with a shield, and it even alks for more GP. On top of that, in order to smith claws, you have to complete a quest to unlock them. No wonder Birthorpe hasn't been able to win the war against the trolls. Their secret weapon is an absolute joke. I could go on comparing the different types of weapons, but I think you get the point. Now this is just a specific case of dead content. It stretches all over the game, not just melee gear. Things like minigames, skilling activities, and even entire areas of the game are considered dead by a large portion of the player base. And it's not specific to new content making old content dead, though that does happen. Some of it was dead on release, and some of it was dead back in the early 2000s. The second problem I'm having with RuneScape is skills being replaced by PvM. Let's look at that metal tier list again, and add the levels required to smith them, as well as the dragon metal. So you've maxed out smithing. You're the greatest smith in the world. Do you make the best armor? Nope. See this red metal here? This stuff's special. Max smithing, you're still too low to handle this stuff. Maybe you could repair it, but you could never make it with your meager skills. Where do you get these bad boys? Shops and rare drops. Yep, this dragon medium helm cannot be made by a player, but you could possibly get it in a mystery box from some random event. And you know what else? That rune armor you spent so long grinding for the ability to make? It commonly drops off random slayer monsters just so someone can high alch it. Now dragon equipment isn't all bad. It brought some use to a couple of the lesser weapon types like claws and warhammers through special attacks. But once you unleash that spec, you'd better switch back to a real weapon. And guess what? This uber red metal is actually trash. Here's the real tier list. That's right, there's another 5 tiers above dragon. And where does it all come from? Mostly PvM. Now, you could say that smithing is needed to repair barrows and torva, and it's even used to make crystal armor. And you would technically be correct. Just like how when I sweep crumbs off my kitchen counter onto the floor, I am technically feeding my dog. Now, I'm not saying that PvM shouldn't be rewarding. It absolutely should. It just shouldn't come at the cost of everything else. And that's what makes it so frustrating. In the early days of RuneScape, skilling was more important than it is now. To get high-level equipment, someone had to make it. To get the materials to make it, somebody had to gather it. Each skill and activity fed into the others, enhancing them and creating a healthy ecosystem within the game. A truly beautiful and fluid sequence of events that elevated RuneScape above all other MMOs in my mind. And I'm not saying it's completely gone, there are still aspects of it all around, but it seems like more and more as time goes on, the most effective way to do or get something is through Slayer, bossing, or raids. RuneScape has become very compartmentalized. A lot of activities just feed themselves in a never-ending loop, barely ever reaching out to enhance others. It's kind of sad. My final problem with RuneScape, and honestly the worst part, is how heavily the game has become dependent on RNG. Basically every high-end reward, with few exceptions, is locked behind an absurd amount of randomness. Want some fancy level 70 gear from God Wars? Go kill a boss for a 1 in 500 chance of it dropping. Maybe you get it on the first kill. Maybe it takes you 10,000 kills. You finally get it, and guess what? It can be upgraded to level 80 gear. If you kill this other boss for a 1 in 250 chance for another drop. Want to make measurable progress towards your goals? Screw that. You either get it or you don't. Now roll a dice. Now, RNG does have its place in MMOs, but it's so overused. And it is by far the laziest and least rewarding way to stretch out the length of content. I don't get excited when I get a rare drop that I've been farming for. I feel relief. Relief that I don't have to continue this specific instance of monotony. When I see a player with a skilling pet, I don't think, that guy's a badass for grinding that out, like I used to back in the day when I saw a rare skill cape. I just think, huh, that guy got lucky. It holds no real prestige. Making slow, meaningful progress towards personal goals is the very foundation that RuneScape stands upon, and I hate to admit it, but they've been skipping leg day for years now. Like I said in the beginning, I love this game, and I still think it's miles above other MMOs, but as I get my twin Ironmen up in levels, I'm just dreading what comes ahead. The burnout's already setting in before I even get to it. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and have a nice day.